Hello and welcome to episode 320 of the Filmmakers Podcast. This is a podcast where we talk
filmmaking.
From indie film to studio films to TV to documentaries and
everything in between.
How to get them made, how to make them, and how to try not to
really F them up.
In our very, very humble opinion. I'm Giles Alderson.
I'm Dom Lenoir.
And welcome. This episode is with Samuel D. Hunter. He is a screenwriter of one of the most talked about films
of a generation.
In 2023. Of The Whale. I am in my room. I'm in my loft where I'm recording.
Cultist loft, yep.
Right when Dom's free to record this, and I am. I've got some guys on my roof right now cleaning out the gutters, making a noise.
Must be gutted.
Yes, Dom, he's been with a pun within seconds. Yeah, I am, because it's noisy, so forgive the background noise.
Yep.
Samuel D. Hunter is a blast. He seems like a fantastic guy. He's a playwright, very, very successful playwright. He wrote this play, The Whale.
Well, I never.
A good few years ago. He had a whale of a time writing it, getting it produced, getting it made, and then he turned it into a film. It's a fascinating story about how he did it. Now, you've probably heard about this film. It's Brendan Fraser's absolute, what would you call it?
Renaissance?
Brilliant. Renaissance.
I don't think I can claim that one because
no.
we were trying to think of it.
I was going to give it to you.
Yeah,
in the episode.
I know, but I can't take that one in sort of moral spirits really, because I did take it off the internet. I couldn't think of it at the time. It was I came up with Brendanisance, and I just couldn't get the Renaissance out of it. It just didn't quite work.
Brendanisance, right? That's the one.
Brendanisance,
yeah,
exactly.
That's it.
I mean that does actually work when you change the inclination. So maybe I will take that.
Yeah,
one.
I think so. I think you deserve it.
Brendanisance, fine.
Congratulations. This film was directed by Darren Aronofsky, and we have a fantastic story about how Darren wanted to turn this play into a film, which Samuel talks about all on the episode. But if you don't know Darren Aronofsky, he has directed Pi, Requiem for a Dream.
Probably stop making films.
It's true. Mother, The Fountain. His credits go on and on. He produced The Good Nurse, one of your favourite films of last year.
He's pretty good filmmaker.
He's a pretty good filmmaker. But what do we talk about, Dom, on this week's episode with Sam? What do we get into?
Adapting a theatre production into a screenplay.
Yeah, we've done that one.
Yeah. Well, we talk about that.
We
talk about it still. Doesn't mean we didn't talk about it. Okay, so we talk about screenwriting to create dialogue and the characters. We talk about how he structures and does outlining for a screenplay. We talk about the collaboration process with Darren Aronofsky. And we also talk about, I mean, it's kind of an interesting thing, but having lots of projects and how that made this less pressure when he was waiting around for it to be made.
Absolutely. This film has just been nominated for 3 Oscars. Samuel himself has just been nominated for a BAFTA for Best Screenplay, which is pretty impressive, really. It's a fantastic piece of work.
It's not bad for first feature.
For a first feature, you're right, Dom. It's incredible.
Out and about.
Any aspiring screenwriters out there, this is really inspiring. I think there's no question about it. So Samuel D. Hunter.
And more.
So that and more coming up for you on this week's Filmmakers Podcast. Thank you all so much for your comments and lovely thoughts, and
especially you
and your Twitter messages and Instagram messages about our episode last week with Christy McCosco-Krieger, the producer of The Fabelmans, working with Spielberg, all that wonderful jazz. So thank you. That was really cool of you.
All that spiel.
Okay. Speaking of Oscars and BAFTAs, we have for you coming up very soon the director of Aftersun. Yes, the very much talked about
Charlotte Wells.
She'll be joining us as well soon. Fingers crossed, all being well. We have
as Wells, not as well.
We have some amazing episodes coming up for you.
Well.
So cool. I don't want to say them all now because we don't know. You know what it's like. We're all busy trying to make things, and they are too. So if you like this, tell your pals. That's how we grow. It means a lot to us. Like I say, go on our socials. The Filmmakers Podcast on Instagram, at FilmmakersPod on Twitter. You can find all that information in our show notes. Speaking of which, come join us on Patreon. We have all our bonus episodes on there for you, and just for a couple of quid, you can really help this podcast grow. And also, we have another Stephen Follows episode coming up, The Business of Film. So if you've got a topic you want us to talk about, then please do get in touch. thefilmmakerspodcast@gmail.com. Okay, shall we get to the episode? And because it was a short one, because it's a junket, myself and Dom are going to chat at the end, aren't we, about what we learned.
We certainly are. Hopefully we learned something.
I definitely did.
And just a quick explanation. If you're wondering why I'm breathless, when we did the junket in the Soho Hotel, my train had many shenanigans, so I was running to get there.
Brilliant. Enjoy Dom's breathlessness. I do. This is our episode with the screenwriter of The Whale, Samuel D. Hunter. Enjoy. How are you feeling?
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Gut-wrenching, amazing, really powerful film.
Thank you so much.
I mean, it blew me away. I mean, even the first 15 minutes when he's walking around, just some of the moments that he does his daily life become such an epic undertaking for him, and it's all about the character development and the writing. And
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. How are you, Sam? How are you feeling? All right on this. Like, is this your first time in London?
No. I actually, weirdly enough, I did a semester in London when I was in college, and so and I lived really near here. And last night I went for a walk, and I had a pint at the pub where I spent my 21st birthday.
Wow.
So yeah. So I love London. I'm so happy to be back. And I was here a few months ago for London Film Festival. So
of course, yeah, for that. I mean, look, the buzz has been amazing for The Whale, like incredible standing ovations at Toronto and various other places as well. How did that feel? Because this is your debut, if you like, as a screenwriter in terms of film, but obviously your history of your plays is incredible, and obviously it's an award-winning play anyway. But is it different when you're seeing it on film and the standing ovation there rather than the standing ovation in a theatre?
Yeah, I mean, making a film and making a play, they share a lot of similarities, but one of the big differences is that I'm in rehearsals right now for a play in New York, and I just yesterday or the day before, and time doesn't mean anything to me right now. I came straight from a run in the hall to the airport, and we start sharing the play with people very early on. We're still in rehearsals, but like we invited the staff of the theater to come in and watch it. We're going to do like runs for the designers, and then you do a dress rehearsal, and then you do weeks of previews where you're inviting audiences in while you're still rehearsing it during the day. And so there's this constant sharing it with people and seeing people interact with it. But with the film, I was on set the entire time. Great. Working with Darren, which was wonderful, and working with the actors. And so I knew what it was going to look like. But I had only seen it twice. Once with, I think, an employee from A24, and then once with my husband, before seeing it in Venice with 1,500 people.
Wow.
And so that was like a very...
It's like contrast.
Yeah. I mean, it was a very like jarring experience, because you're like, well, my husband liked it. I liked it. Like, what is this going to be in front of all these people, with Italian subtitles? And
but our families always do that. They're always, oh no, it's wonderful.
No, exactly. Yeah.
So you take it with a pinch of salt.
The audience of the festival, you'd hope they'd be respectful.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But so, the fact that it's like finding the audience that it's finding is so wonderful. I mean, it's very surreal to me that it's like this story that, I told from a very personal place, and, for years was just existing in these like small theaters. Now it's on like 1,500 screens throughout America is like a very surreal idea to me.
And what were some of the main challenges in terms of making this from theatre into a film? Because, I mean, it's pretty much all set in one location.
That's right.
There's a few cutaways, but it's all set in one location. It doesn't feel like a one location film.
Oh, that's good.
Which is like a tremendous achievement.
It really is.
What were some of the things that you had to try and consider with the adaptation for film to kind of keep the engagement and the pace that it does?
Yeah, I mean, I've written a lot of plays at this point. Like the Whale is probably 15 or so plays, since then. But I do think like a lot of my plays could be opened up in the traditional way of sort of adding locations, adding characters, taking out of the apartment. But there was just something early on. I was like, I don't know what this story is if we leave the apartment. What does it mean to like see Ellie at school or Mary at home or Liz at work. I was just sort of like, what? That's not adding anything. And if anything, it's kind of taking us away from the core experience of communing with this human being.
And the confinement, I guess.
And the confinement, exactly. Yeah, yeah. So it was, I was so grateful that, like, Darren optioned this material early on, but, 10 years ago, but then he, eventually drifted away for a while, and he made Mother, and so it floated by a few other directors. And those directors all wanted to take a pass at the script or open it up or something like that. And I'm just so grateful that it eventually stayed with Darren, who had the courage and the vision to keep it in this 2-bedroom apartment. But over the 10 years, there was a lot of, how can we find the visual vocabulary of this 2-bedroom apartment? Like, one of the revelations I had during the pandemic was, like, what if there's this second bedroom that is kind of like the archaeology of his past with his lover? And that scene really replaces a monologue from the play that Charlie gives to Thomas about his lover, Alan. So there was just, and then there was, like, the pizza guy, the bird. There was a lot of, like, things along the way that was sort of like, how can I utilize the the lens of film to expand this story and deepen the character.
It's almost like a sort of a hidden delight when you find, like, another vignette into his world. Like, there's the bird opens up, and then the door opens up, and then the porch opens up.
That's
and
right.
It's like everything's a small reveal.
Yeah, yeah, and in the play, that porch scene that Hung Chau plays so beautifully.
Oh yes,
she's so amazing.
Yeah, she is.
Force of nature.
Yes, she's incredible. I mean, I like being on set, watching her work was, like, incredible. But that porch scene in the play, Charlie goes off to the bathroom and they have that scene together. So there were just, like, little things like that, sort of like, how can we, further illustrate the world. And I think, the great thing about the porch scene too is, like, you can reveal that he lives on the second floor. And
that was surprising, like the background and the sort of mountain trees.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And okay, so what was interesting there, you mentioned that it was optioned over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
With Darren Aronofsky, but then it drifted. How did that feel for you as a writer? At that point, had you already written the first draft of it? In terms of a strong, solid draft of the film version?
No. I had never even conceived of this as a film. You have to imagine, I was just desperately trying to be a playwright. I mean, that's all I wanted to be was an off-Broadway playwright. And so, like, when this was produced in a theater in Manhattan, Playwrights Horizons, and it was sort of like that was the goal, you know what I mean? And then when it got produced at theaters across the country, it was, like, incredible. That's all that I ever wanted. And so the phone call from Darren, shortly after it was produced in New York, saying, like, let's talk about this as a film, was, like, a complete surprise. And so I really kind of wrote it on spec. He optioned the play, but he didn't really write me, didn't really hire me to write the screenplay. So that was kind of done on faith.
Was that a case because I suppose the film world sometimes goes, well, you're untested as a screenwriter.
Sure.
Even though, of course, you can write, you're a brilliant writer. But sometimes some people don't see it like that. They're like, yes, but it's very different,
Yeah.
Was that you going, I want to prove that I can do it? Was there a part of you in that?
And
when
it's
you
Darren Aronofsky.
And it's Darren Aronofsky, so you kind of want to go, hey, Darren, I can do this. Was there a part of you that felt that way?
I guess, I mean, it's funny. It was just kind of never a question of like, should somebody else write this material? I mean, and it's really a credit to Darren that I don't think I even realized back then. I mean, the play is so personal to me and comes from such a, it wrote it from such a vulnerable place that I guess I never thought, like, somebody else should take it and rewrite it or adapt it. You know what I mean? It was kind of, and thankfully with Darren, it was never, a question of who should be telling the story. But in retrospect, like, God, was I lucky, that Darren had that faith in me, to, take the helm with it.
Were there any moments in the script that he wanted to sort of change, or he thought, yeah, okay, this, maybe we could lose this, or we could lose that? Because I mean, overall, it's a very honest film, and it doesn't give you an easy out at the end. It gives you a catharsis. I won't spoil it, but it doesn't sort of, sometimes the things that the characters you want them to do, they don't do it.
Yeah,
which is fantastic, and also you play with, there's some things that you kind of expect the character to do, like the zoom. I won't reveal that either, but it reveals out, and it's enjoyable when it happens. And there's other things that are unexpected. So how do you sort of play with those conventions of working with audience expectations and not, and also what he sort of wanted to amend from the script?
Yeah, there wasn't, I mean, I don't really even recall any moments where Darren and I kind of like disagreed about how the story should be told. I mean, like, there are a lot of like, you know, I worked with him a lot over the years of sort of like, how can we tell the story visually, and how can we, you know, find more silent scenes, you know, and that aren't dialogue driven. But no, I mean, it was like a really perfect process, actually, of like figuring out how to tell this story. I'm kind of drifting away from your question, but like figuring out how to tell this story on film as opposed to the stage. So,
and during that time, you mentioned that there was a point where it went away for a while. And that is what happens to a lot of our screenwriters, filmmakers. You spend a lot of time on a project. You put a lot of heart and soul into how this could work visually, even though you're not directing it.
Yeah.
A lot of writers go, well, they imagine how they do it. You've gone through that process and then it drifts away. Maybe you could talk about that part for you as a screenwriter and a writer at that point of going, because it can be heartbreaking and it can be very difficult. And how did you overcome those difficulties to keep the faith in terms of, no, this could still happen?
I think it would be different if I wasn't writing plays all along the way, because I think it would have been like I would have been so invested in, like, oh God, like maybe this can become a film. But I think like the fact that I've been a working playwright for the last 10 years while this script has been in development, you know, I've been so just centered on premiering plays. I also, you know, I wrote on a TV show for 4 seasons. You know, there's a lot of things.
Keep busy and have lots of projects.
That's exactly right. Yeah. You know, and also just like family. Like my husband and I adopted a kid 5 years ago, and like, you know, and so the Whale, the film version of The Whale, has always been this sort of like bonus thing in my life. You know what I mean? Like, and that I'm just incredibly grateful for, and it still feels like, wow, right, yeah, I wrote a film. Like, I mean, it still feels this like you know, an incredible gift that, because again, like my goal had always just been to like be a working playwright and being able to sort of like tell the stories that I want to tell on my own terms.
So in terms of the creation of a screenplay, or I suppose even a theatre play, like what's your process? Do you like to do treatments, outlines? Do you like to kind of go through all the scenes, or do you just sort of splurge it out and get everything on the page and do a draft and then sort of analyze it?
I think it's different project by project. I mean, it always surprises me that whenever I try to like replicate a process, it always just kind of falls apart, you know, and you know, like I wrote a play that was at Lincoln Center right before the pandemic. That's probably my longest play. It's a 3-hour play, 3-act play. And I wrote that draft, the first draft, in less than a week. But like the play that I just had in New York, that last May, that I premiered last May, is probably my shortest play. It's about 80 minutes, 85 minutes. That took me almost a year to write a first draft. And so, like, I think I never, I think it's just important to me that I don't, like, however something falls out, I try to just, like, trust whatever process that is. I will say, though, that, like, the thing that is common between everything I write is, like, the development process is very, very long. Like, even if you know, like that 3-act play that I wrote in 1 week, I mean, I developed it for years.
So developing like the research and the characters, that kind of thing, like getting to know the world? I
think it's like one of the reasons that I love dramatic writing, either playwriting or screenwriting, is that it's such a collaborative form. Like I mean, maybe I'll write a novel someday, but I just I couldn't imagine like sitting down and just like being so isolated. I mean, for me, like writing a first draft is like the first mile of a marathon, you know, and the rest of the marathon is working with other people, giving it to actors, showing it to collaborators, working with directors, you know. I mean, and I think it's also like the kind of plays that I'm interested in writing. There's no like authorial voice that shows up to tell you what the theme is or what you should think about something, or, you know, a thesis statement or something like that. Like whenever I see a play or a movie that I feel like the author shows up to tell us what to think, I just always get really frustrated with it, or I'm just sort of like, get out of the way. Like, I'm interested in these people. So yeah.
Yeah. And how do you dialogue? Because the dialogue is, you know, beautiful. It's incredible in the film. And again, what you touched on there is that you kept it very similar to the stage play in terms of the look, the feel, the not going out, the place, and the dialogue I imagine was already in there. But when you first wrote it, and then maybe when you rewrote it for the screen as well, how do you find those moments? Is it, dialogue is so hard to write. How do you do it? Does it just splurge out? Do you find bits and then specifically do you hone it?
Yeah, I think in the beginning I try to write fairly quickly, just because I don't want to. It goes back to that authorial voice thing. Is like I don't want to muscle the characters. Like I don't have I don't do a lot of outlining in the beginning. You know what I mean? I can do that as a diagnostic tool later on if I feel like something isn't working. But in the beginning, I'm like, I can't move my characters around like chess pieces. Like I have to let them live and breathe. And so when I'm writing dialogue in the beginning, I try to be pretty loose with it. I mean, I rewrite things heavily, like the rewriting process is very, very long, but in the beginning, like I just want them to have agency and be human beings, without like me being like, no, I have to guide them in this direction. You know what I mean? And sometimes I also just try to surprise myself in the writing. Like when I was writing the first draft, I didn't think Mary would show up.
Huh.
And then she did.
And it's a great surprise when she does. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Because I kind of surprised myself with it. Like I think it's like as a writer, you have to kind of disrupt yourself as you're creating something,
And I suppose it's kind of down to the expectations of you're hearing it all from Brendan Fraser's character's perspective, about what he says about his ex-wife. And then you get the revelation of it's not just the one-sided perspective. It's it's something else. So that's a nice kind of narrative flip as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Was that always like you say, was that something that just jumps out at you when you're writing it? You go, well, all right, well, let's see what happens if I throw the character back in here. And this is what happens if the pizza guy doesn't come in. And did you even write a scene, where the pizza guy does come in type thing? Is that the kind of thing you go, okay, and then you throw it out later?
Oh, totally. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like I try to be as light on my feet as possible when I'm writing something. Because it's almost like, I don't know. It comes to sort of like a humility thing, or sort of like I need to take myself out of it and just let the characters do their thing, because I don't want to even though I'm the one writing it, it's almost like I need to dissociate myself a little bit from it in order for the characters to breathe and be human beings and do things that maybe I wasn't expecting, and then I go back after and it's like, well, that's not right. So I think I always try to think of when I'm writing something, I'm trying to think of it as like a living document. And maybe that's because I'm a playwright, plays get done so many different times, and they're always different. I mean, it's different night to night, you know what I mean? Yeah. And so I never really think of scripts as sort of these concrete etched in marble, they always feel this sort of constantly evolving, constantly shifting,
Yes, which must have been amazing then when you came to, 10 years later to go, oh, actually, this film might actually now happen. This might actually move forward. And at that point, you'd had quite a long time to sit on the dialogue and the characters and where they were there. And you'd seen the play perform many, many times up till that point. So was there a chance to change things, resurrect things, to go, I was never happy with that, or do you know what, I can make that better? Talk us through that. This was 12 or 15 plays ago for me, and so I'm 40.
You learn a lot in life.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, my husband and I are dads now, and that's a huge shift, to write a story about a father trying to reconnect with a daughter when I have a daughter now. So there was just an opportunity to kind of look at it with fresh eyes. But it was kind of shocking. I remember when I was on set, because we shot it pretty much chronologically, pretty much in order, with a few pickups here and there. And I remember when we finished the first scene, and they were like, okay, now moving on. And that was a shocking moment to me, because I was like, oh, right.
Done now.
Yeah, done now. We can't do it again. I'm so used to being in a rehearsal hall where you're doing it
night after night,
night after night,
and you can tweak it and change
exactly,
it. Let's just but that was it. I know that's what's fascinating about film to theater,
and it really taught me if I have an opinion or a note, I need to say it, because we're not going to return to it, and now this film is unlike theater, it's etched in marble from going forward.
So can you talk a little bit about Darren's process on set, how he sort of works with the actors, how the shooting kind of goes, and what your sort of involvement was in that process as well?
Yeah, I mean, the great gift that we had was A24 let us have 3 weeks of rehearsal before we turned any cameras on, which was so wonderful.
Perfect for you as well. You're used to that. You're like,
it was great. I mean, which is it was almost like rehearsing a play, except we're not playing to an audience, we're playing to a camera. And so, and Darren on day one of rehearsrsal kind of declared us a theater company, and he had the set taped out on the floor, it was very cool. He and I'm really grateful that he did kind of embrace this as kind of a play on film, and wasn't trying to sort of pretend that it didn't have theatrical origins, and almost a tradition of Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf or Streetcar, or,
exactly, which totally works.
Yeah.
It does
and
work.
And he chose that aspect ratio, which is a very sort of classic
almost TV look of it. So, you were shooting a play, how plays used to be seen. I like that. Good touch.
But his process was incredibly methodical. I mean, he does a lot of takes. I've never been on a film set before, but I remember at a certain point being Darren does a lot of takes, right? And they were like, yeah, Darren does a lot of takes. I mean, I think, at a certain point we had 30 hours of footage of the one scene, you know what I mean?
Wow.
And that's trying different things every take, or just sort of trying to get it out of the actors? Or?
Trying different things, yeah. And but also just little things. I remember one time, we were doing a take, and all of a sudden Darren was like, hold. And he went up to Brendan and moved a single hair on his forehead.
Wow.
And I was just like, man, he doesn't miss anything. And he really doesn't. He doesn't miss a thing. I mean, there is not a single second of this film that Darren hasn't looked at 20 different ways, But then he just I think he had a lot of trust in these actors. I mean, and they were all 5 of them were incredible, and I think especially with an actor like Hong, who brought so much to this film. At a certain point, I think with Hong, he would just be just go, try something, I remember there's this one point on set where Hong...
she has a great unexpected energy, doesn't she?
Oh, God, she's amazing. And she came to us one day, and she was it was a scene where she gets really frustrated at Charlie, and she was I think I want to hit him. And Darren and I were both horrified. We were hit him? But Darren came to me and was are we gonna let this happen? And then that's the take that we used, because it was and as soon as she did it, we were oh God, of course. That
the anger of her,
exactly,
disappointment,
and that codependence, and that know, I mean, it was so amazing,
Yeah. We would like to play the trailer. Dom, will you just give us a rundown of what the film is, and we'll drop the trailer in?
The trailer or the whaler?
Oh, go for it.
The Whale is about a father, played by Brendan Fraser, who is medically obese to the point where he's in a life-threatening condition. And it is his story about being confined in his home, trying to reconnect with his daughter, find meaning with his life, and come to terms with his illness and past.
I know these rules can feel constraining, but remember, the point of this course is to learn how to write clearly and persuasively. Think about that. Think about the truth of your argument. You're an amazing person, Ellie. I couldn't ask for a more incredible daughter.
Are you actually trying to parent me right now?
Who would want me to be a part of their life?
You don't stay in touch with Mom?
She really only tells me things about you.
Why?
Because that's all I want to know about.
Why'd you gain all that weight?
Someone close to me passed away, and it had an effect on me.
You haven't seen her since she was 8 years old, and you're gonna reconnect with her?
Sorry.
I don't like this. This isn't a good idea.
I'm sorry.
You say you're sorry one more time, I will shove a knife right into you. I swear to God.
Go ahead. What's it gonna do? My internal organs are 2 feet in at least.
Why do you suddenly need to see her so bad? Why now?
Liz. I'm worried that she's forgotten what an amazing person she is. I need to know that she's gonna have a decent life where she cares about people and that she's gonna be okay. I need to know that I have done one thing right with my life.
Talk us more about when you went to set, that first few weeks when you watched and it must have been, eye-opening for you, because someone who hasn't been to a movie set, it is fascinating. It is mind-blowing. You're like, hang on, we're doing that how many times and what? Now we're turning the cameras. Wow, why not do it at the same time? Why not do it, because you don't know and you think that's how films are made, but they're not. It's very meticulous. It's very slow.
Yes.
And it's getting little shots and moving around. What did you learn from that process? Especially watching Darren, how he worked with the crew, how he worked with the actors.
I mean, it was funny. What it reminded me of what we call in the theater tech rehearsal, which is where like you've done all the rehearsals in the hall and now you move. I'm going to be in tech in a few days from my play in New York, where like you get on the set and you start just going through like moment to moment to moment to moment,
changing the lights, making sure they're fine.
And so it really
on and off.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. It really reminded me of that, but of course to an even greater degree. But what I loved about it is like you can get so many different takes, and so you have this kind of like a la carte, selection of like all these different, and what was wonderful is like I could go on set and give a note or a suggestion, and I would know sort of like, well, yeah, of course, why not? Like, let's try it this way. You know what I mean? And then we have it, and it might be right, it might be wrong, but it doesn't matter. Or at least in that moment, it doesn't matter because we can just like use a different take. But I also think I just learned how a movie is made. Like I remember like watching Darren work with Marli J, the cinematographer. I remember the first week they kept, Darren would be like, "Oh no, we're crossing the line. We're crossing the line." And I was like, "Crossing the line?" And I kept like,
your theater mind.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, "What does that mean?" And finally, I like understood what that meant.
We're way past that.
Yeah. But so I did feel like I got like a master class in filmmaking over those 2.5 months.
Ooh, what's that? It's music in the middle of the podcast. It can only mean one thing. It's sponsorship time. We are delighted to be sponsored by Q Scripts. It's a script analysis service. Annual membership package costs only £60 a year. It includes monthly webinar and Q&A sessions with industry professionals, including commissioned writers, producers, and directors. You get a discount on all services offered by Q Scripts and access to a 36-page quarterly industry magazine brimming with useful content, industry insights, and interviews with writers, plus free entry into the monthly prize draw with a chance to win a free detailed script report. Check out qscripts.com. Link for ease. To make it easier for you so don't have to type it in is in the show notes. Just scroll down, click on it. There it is. qscripts.com.
What were some of the main things that he wanted to sort of implement as a director on the script, or maybe stuff that wasn't in the script that you feel like he sort of put his own sort of personal stamp on?
There's so much. I mean, like all the weather events in that is all Darren. I mean, like him, like there's the weather in the film is like in and of itself an organizational tool.
It's almost like being at sea, isn't it? Like Moby Dick.
Exactly. And all those nautical elements. And I mean, if you see, there's so many details about like the wallpaper has nautical elements. Like Ty Simpkins comes in that kind of pea coat, which feels a little nautical, or, the way that the light in Charlie's bedroom swings. And, so many elements, and also sort of like if you, Maddie, the way that he lit it is so brilliant. Like it took me watching a few times to realize that like the way he lit Ellie, which was like in the beginning the light on her is really cold, And then about halfway through the film, it starts to warm up. And then by the end of the film, it's much warmer. So, yeah, I mean, I just feel so grateful because it was like we all came together in the middle of the pandemic to tell this story. I mean, it was, I think I got my first shot at the end, toward the end of filming. So it really was like, you know, like this leap of faith that we all took to like come back and, you know, tell this story. And it was all these people at the top of their game. You know what I mean? Like every designer, every set dress. I mean, it was just like all these people like coming back in this sort of like act of faith to tell this story.
Was this before Sadie Sink had become big in Stranger Things, or was it? I'm trying to think back to, because you said it was shot in the pandemic.
Kind of right.
She just started at that time.
Yeah. So basically, we did a reading of the when Darren had the idea to cast Brendan, we did a reading of the script, almost as one would do a reading of the play. Darren rented a theater in the East Village in Manhattan, and we did a reading of with Brendan, and Sadie also did the reading. And I wasn't aware of Sadie at the time. Like, and I was just, they were like, oh, she's on Stranger Things. And I was like, oh, okay. And she was so good. Mm-hmm. And it was just so apparent that, oh, like, that's probably the actress we want in this role. And then by the time we, like, it was very slow. By the time we started filming, it was like, oh, Sadie's becoming kind of a big deal. And then I remember, like,
worked out quite well for you, really.
Yeah. And then, like, months later,
she's like one of the biggest stars of it.
No,
now,
it's
like,
crazy.
A real breakout.
Yeah, like months later, I remember, like, while Darren was editing, I was watching Saturday Night Live and the Taylor Swift video, and I was sort of like,
she's starring in it. Yeah, Taylor directed that as well.
Yeah, exactly. And then, like, all of a sudden, she's like on billboards in Tokyo. It's like, it's crazy.
Yeah, which must be wonderful. You mentioned Brendan there. What was that process like for you then, going, okay, we're going to cast? Was that even in your mindset when Darren said it? Was it like, oh yeah,
his comeback, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's one of his major comebacks, I'd say.
Yeah, it was. I mean, when he first suggested it to me, I was like, huh? Like, I don't think I hadn't really seen his kind of action movies. I hadn't seen The Mummy,
right? Okay,
and so like my impressions of Brendan were sort of Gods and Monsters and School Ties, and But I was also, like many people, I was sort of like, oh, what's he been up to? Mm-hmm. And then, you know, I read that GQ article that became so widely read, and I was like, oh wow, there's something in the DNA of the character here. And then, you know, Darren organized that reading, and it was just so apparent, like 5 or 10 minutes into the reading, it was like, whoa, okay, like he really knows this character, and he has this kind of like uncanny ability to hold deep despair and deep joy at the same time, which is so important to the character. So it really was just like, it's a very gratifying experience when you're sort of like when you create a character and then an actor just sort of like elevates it like that.
And he does. I mean, he holds the screen. You cannot take your eyes off it.
Definitely should be Oscar winning, in my opinion.
Absolutely. It's breathtaking. It really is. And literally, in the sense of the word as well, he can't breathe throughout the whole movie. He's portraying this incredible character. And what was that like to watch on set? So, you know, because it's so hard for an actor to be breathing like that and struggling, and, you know, are you dying? What is happening?
Yeah.
What was that like to watch? Because you're doing take after take after take. How? Because in the theatre, obviously you're rehearsing, but you can, all right, let's take a minute. How was that on film?
I remember just like feeling very concerned for him throughout, just because it was so hard, and like he works so hard. I mean, he was the first one on set every morning. You know, it took him several hours to get into makeup every morning. So he was the first one there, last one out. And I just felt like this kind of affection for him and this concern for him, because he was working so hard under such rigorous physical, you know, demands. But I kept waiting for the moment. It's like, when is he going to like say something? When is he going to like get frustrated or get angry or like snap at somebody? And that moment never came. which was miraculous. I mean, it was sort of like he had every reason to get frustrated, and to snap at somebody or say something rude or something, but he just never, ever did. It was pretty incredible. It was almost athletic, the way that he approached this role, and
the amount of love, the outpouring of love. I think for him in this film, especially, has been incredible.
Yeah.
If there was a reconnaissance, and that word was created by Matthew McConaughey, reconnaissance. He'd create that word, but it's a kind of in the zeitgeist of, you need a reconnaissance, and you need a Fraser sense. I don't know what the word is there, but it's happened.
Yeah,
and that's because of your idea. And I think that is quite interesting. I think forever now, for you, The Whale will be associated with you, and it's an award-winning, it's a fabulous film. Everyone loves it. The performance will bring Brendan Fraser back, which everyone wants. Everyone's like, no, please don't go away. I love you. Everyone's loved Brendan Fraser, and you've done that. And I suppose I wanted to ask you how that felt now. And maybe it hasn't sunk in yet, because it's obviously in the release stages right now, and real audiences in terms of anyone is seeing this film, not people who go to film festivals, not people who are seeking it out. This is people who go, all right, let's stick this on a channel, or we might go to the cinema. How does that feel?
I don't think it's like totally sunk in yet. I mean, my life right now is, ever since Venice, I've kind of been on this treadmill, wonderful treadmill, of, traveling around, and a lot of miles accumulated on my, Delta status.
A lot of hotel rooms.
A lot of
interviews like this.
Yeah. And so I'm just I'm trying to be as present as possible, because I also when I'm not doing this, I'm at home with my 5-year-old, which is its own kind of treadmill.
Sure.
I've got nephews.
That's an uphill
exactly that age.
Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty dark.
Yeah. So it's, I don't think
Brendan has it easy, actually.
Yeah.
What's he complain? He didn't complain, but if he did, what are you complaining about?
But it, even yesterday, like when when the BAFTA nominations came out, I mean, I had just gotten off a red eye from New York here, and I was like coming out of a Starbucks, and my husband called me, and I was just like, it's all like, it's so wonderful, but I don't know if it's going to completely sink in, for a few months at least. But I'm just feeling incredibly grateful.
How has it changed your perspective on film? Like, going forward now, are you thinking, I want to keep doing plays all the time, or I want to do both, or I want to explore film for a bit?
It's complicated, because I think one of the reasons that, I should say, like, when I was a teenager in Idaho in the late 90s, I was like using my parents' camcorder to make movies way before I was ever writing plays.
Just like the Fabelmans.
Right, exactly. And I was like editing them by hooking two VCRs up to one another and like pressing play on one and record on the other. And it looked terrible, and I just started getting really frustrated with the technology, and so I was like, well, I can write plays, like, and then just like make them. And so that's what I started doing, and that's what eventually when I fell in love with theater. And I think like one of the reasons I continue to be drawn to the theater is it is so writer centric.
Yes.
Like nobody changes the words unless I change them, and it's very unlike film. And I think like the fact that like Darren translated my script into a film very faithfully is like kind of a miracle. And because like so much of the time, like writing in filmmaking is a bit of an afterthought. And I have had experiences in screenwriting over the years where I feel kind of like a text butler more than anything else, where they're just sort of like telling me exactly what to deliver, and I'm just sort of like,
I love that, text butler. Here's your text, sir.
Yeah, exactly. It's just sort of like,
that's great.
Yeah, and very kind of like notes from executives that are incredibly resulty, of just sort of like cut that, shift this, move that over here, which I just don't encounter in the theater. It's a much more organic process in the theater, because it's sort of like, well, they're human beings first and foremost. And so like, cut this, move that, have them go over here. Like, again, it goes back to the chess pieces thing. It just sort of like the characters become chess pieces. So I think I'm trying to figure out exactly like, how can I maintain my
artistic integrity?
Yeah. I mean, it sounds pretentious, but like, how can I maintain my voice within filmmaking? And I think that's kind of like,
keep working with Darren.
Yeah. Yeah, he just needs to adapt all of my
play,
films, all of my plays into films. Yeah. But I also like love film. I feel like now I'm, like I said, I got this master class in filmmaking by being on set for 2.5 months. I mean, I how can I not utilize that? So, but I think it remains to be seen.
Maybe even direct a few things for film.
I mean, maybe, I'm not, if somebody has the faith in me.
Have you directed any of your plays? You must have.
I've directed like workshops, but I've never actually directed a production of one of my plays. I think it's weirdly, I would trust myself to direct a film more than I would trust myself to direct a play. Like directing a play is such a singular skill of like coaching actors to hold something in their bones for 2 hours every evening. I mean, it's a very, very specific thing. But with film, it's like I said before, it's sort of, if I had like a cinematographer I really trusted, then you can just like get all these different takes, and then you work with an editor you really trust. Like that's a process. I think like it's so much more methodical.
Yes. Well, it's a big team. Making a film is a big team. There is leaders, obviously, but it's a team thing. You can't make a film without the DP, without the sound, well, you can, but what's great about filmmaking is you all do it together.
That's right.
And that's wonderful. Like you say, in the theatre, it's often not. It's the director and the actors in rehearsal. Right. And I think that's what's wonderful about film. It seems like you've caught that bug of, I was on set for a while. What was Darren like working with those actors that you felt was different maybe to what you've seen in the theatre? What was it, especially with each take? What was it he was asking them to do?
I think, I mean, it goes back to that thing of sort of like you can get so many different takes in... but coaching actors in a theater is so much more delicate because it's like, a performance is almost like this like singular thing that you're helping craft and like, and a
has
really
to kind
good
of stay in the same shape in a way.
Exactly. Yeah. And a really good theater director has to be so delicate in crafting those performances while letting the actor make it their own and be able to maintain it and do it every night. While still surprising themselves and like
still
keeping it fresh.
Yeah.
Whereas sort of like in film, it's so great that you can just kind of, let's do it this way now. And there's an ability in film to sort of like, usually Darren, at the end of like shooting a scene, he would just be like, okay, just show me something different, and he would do that pretty much every single time. Like, show me something different. And they would just kind of like make it their own, and
did a lot of that make it into the edit.
A good amount of it. Yeah. A good amount of it. Yeah.
I suppose it's casting as well. It's that choosing actors that can do that.
Yes,
that's right.
It's the that level.
Because some actors can't. And that's very interesting when you are casting or making films. Is some actors literally. You come with a performance.
Yeah,
this is what you get. I prepared this way, and then you haven't got time on set to do that much. It's
that's
like,
right.
This is it, right? Okay, you do what you do then, and you can play a bit, but and then other actors, it's why it's great to rehearse and bring them in for auditions and do that because you go, okay, let's play. Because as a director, that's the joy of it all, and that's what Darren does with his team and
that's right.
plays.
Yeah.
And I think for you, it's an unusual situation because. Sadly, writers often aren't on set.
Right.
And you mentioned there that earlier on that if you didn't say anything during the scene and they say moving on, you maybe missed that moment. What was it you were saying, I suppose, when you I'll be brave enough to speak here, or I'm part of this team? Because you were there in rehearsals. What kind of things were you, mentioning?
I mean, it was...
Better, Brendan, better.
More sweat, Brendan.
Sometimes it would be like adding lines or subtracting lines and sometimes it would be like, I really think, the scene is about, I know the lines are saying one thing, but I think he's actually doing it with love, or I think she's doing this with, you know what I mean? Almost as one would, work on a play. We're just sort of like, when is the acting, when is it like, when should you fight against the text? Do you know what I mean? Whereas when should you lean into the text?
Yes.
Is really important.
I think that was one of the most fascinating things about his performance specifically was that there were many moments when you would just think that he would react in one way, and he kind of came back with kindness.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's kind of about heartbreaking, but it's there's some kind of truth to it.
Yeah.
That's really, sticks with you.
I think that's what you mentioned there about Brendan's ability to look like he's in total pain, but at the same time he's smiling through it.
Compassion.
That's right.
Absolutely mesmerizing performance. In the edit then, for you as a writer, were you involved in that stage a bit? Because we often say you rewrite it all in the edit process.
That's
again.
right.
Did that work for you? Was that the same thing? Did you go in the edit and go, we need an extra line here, or we need this?
I actually, funnily enough, the edit was the thing that I really wasn't involved in, because I kind of felt like I was such up in
You'd
Darren's
made your part.
grill. Yeah, exactly.
I've done my bit, guys.
I was so,
Twice.
so involved in the production, and that I was really like, Darren needs to have his space with Andy Weissblum, the editor, the brilliant editor. But I was very nervous about it, and I remember like at a certain point, Darren, texted me, and he was sort of like, okay, I've had to make some kind of aggressive cuts to a certain scene. I'm going to show it to you and tell me what you think. And I was like, oh my God, like, is everything okay? Like, are they having to take a hacksaw to this thing? Like, and he showed me the scene, and he had cut like 2 lines of like of almost no consequence.
You're like, how dare you?
But I was like, when I saw that, I was like, oh, I think he's being like really faithful.
Yeah.
And then when I saw the rough cut, when he invited me to come in and see the rough cut, I was just like, holy crap, he just did it. Like it's almost untouched.
Yeah.
Which is such a gift for me.
Yeah.
So.
And it, also, I suppose, his ability as well. I mean, it shows your ability in writing an amazing script, but also his ability in being able to create something and put his own touch on it while still remaining faithful.
That's exactly right.
So elasticity, isn't it?
Yeah. And coming back to my original question, that moment, how did it feel when you got the standing ovation at these, Venice and Toronto?
I mean, like, completely surreal. I remember in Toronto, the screening was on my birthday. And
wow.
And after
birthday.
And after the screening, Darren told the audience it was my birthday, and they all spontaneously,
sang.
1,500 people broke into "Happy Birthday," and it was just—it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. I'm going to remember this for the rest of my life.
Just a final question.
Yeah.
Could you give some advice to your earlier self, or maybe you when you were struggling at some point in your career and you thought, I'm not sure I'm going to get past or to this next hurdle, for any aspiring writers or filmmakers?
I think it would be something like every project that I did early on felt like end times. You know what I mean? It was sort of like, if this goes well, then I'm fine, or if it doesn't go well, then I'm broken. Then I'm never going to work again. And I think it would be sort of like, life is very long. Like, many people are going to react in many different ways to the stuff you write over the years, and but a career is not one singular piece of writing. You know what I mean? Even if you become known by one singular piece of writing, the careers are very long. Life is very long. So calm down. I would say calm down.
Good advice.
Great advice. Samuel Hunter, thank you so much. This has been brilliant to chat to you.
Thank you, and what an amazing movie.
An amazing movie. It is out very soon, so literally, link is in the show notes where you can watch it. Oh, that was brilliant. Thanks so much, guys. You're amazing. Yeah, really good. Really good. Thank you. That was myself, Dom Lenoir, chatting with Samuel D. Hunter. How interesting was that? I loved that whole chat. His passion for writing, his passion for this project as well. And The Whale is really, it means something. And I think it's fascinating.
It's an incredibly moving film, and it's not really covered very much. Obesity, and not only the sort of struggles and how it happens, but the roots of it. I mean, this one it's about grief. It's about trauma. It's these things don't happen in a vacuum. There's always a reason behind them. It covers religion, spirituality, forming groups and the different ideologies that go with that. And I suppose vulnerability and the mistakes that parents and children make with each other, and trying to get past those things.
It's beautiful. There's no two ways about this film. It pulls you in and it makes you feel, and that's what filmmaking should be about. Stories that stay with you.
100%.
And Brendan Fraser's performance just is, you cannot help but fall into his eyes.
Heartbreaking.
He's just a wonderful man, and I can't see anyone else playing that as well. It's so touching.
Playing it as well.
Jeez. it's so difficult to adapt anything, let alone your own play, because you can get bogged down in the words you love, the bits that you stick with you are amazing on stage, and then transforming that into film is very different. It's a very different medium, as we all know. But I think when you are writing, and that's what's fascinating about what Samuel was saying, he just wrote from the heart. He wrote what he knew. He wrote what meant something to him. And I think that's a great lesson for screenwriters out there, or just who are thinking, why can't I break through, or why is my next film not happening? And sometimes it's maybe the project isn't right. There's not enough passion. There's not enough heart in there from you. It might be from someone else, let's say, but your passion has to seep through it every core.
Yeah, I think beyond the passion, it's also about being personal and something that means something to the writer and to the audience. If you're just sort of creating characters that that are going to A to B and there's no real depth and meaning behind it, then the audience won't connect either. But it does feel like a deeply personal story, and also it doesn't give you the easy answers or the easy outs. There's a catharsis to it, but it's not a film where it sort of throws hope at you. It gives you some hard questions and a challenging sort of ending, I suppose, to think about after it's finished.
Darren's made Darren, I say Darren, he walked in the room just before you got there, by the way. He got the wrong room.
Are you joking?
Popped his head in. Yeah. And you went, oh, hey, sorry. And Sam was like, hey. And he was like, hey.
Did you say you're going to stay?
I did, yeah. I went, no, don't go.
If I'd been there, you would have stayed.
It's true. You shouldn't have been late.
I just shut the door.
Shut the door on him.
You're not going anywhere, pal.
And then I saw Brendan Fraser as well. He walked down the corridor.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, beforehand, and he waved as I was sat on the chair waiting to go in.
Oh, wow.
And these junkets are fascinating. They're in hotel rooms, and we're at the Soho Hotel.
Yeah.
And you just wait. You kind of wait with the other. We're called journalists. I don't know how we get away with being called journalists, but
journos.
We do. And Brendan walked past, friendly as you like. Went, hey. As he walked past, it was like, hey.
Oh man, I can't believe I missed that hey.
Yeah, I know, it was a great hey. It was a good hay.
Friendly.
Yeah.
Friendly Brendley.
It was like a horse that had eaten it all day. That's how much hay it was. It was that good. It was a strong hay. It was almost like you put pepper and salt on it. Yeah. Hey ho.
Also, it was interesting. We talked quite in depth as a director as well, like the touches that Darren puts on, like adding in the elements, like the rain, glimpses of the mountain, revealing the extra room in the house, like these things that take it from being a theatre production into creating these paper trails that kind of get revealed as the film goes on, and also expand it into these other concepts beyond a man in his house, into something really fantastic. And I think it was also really, really exciting discussing his process, working with actors, giving people the freedom to try new things, but also trying to get to the meaning of what was in the script in an interesting way.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think he's done wonders with something. I think it's proven. I think it's proved to anyone out there who's thinking of adapting a play or whatever, you can do it. Don't feel that you're restrained by the play. It can still look like a play. That's what they want it to look like. It's okay. That's fine. I don't see there's a problem with that. It's all set in one room, like Dom said there, but they opened the door and you saw bits of everywhere else.
But it's not boring.
That's it. Good writing and good performances. Doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't make it boring. So you can do your film in one room. You can do your script that way. And I think that is inspirational.
You can get a hey from Brendan Fraser.
You certainly can. So, till next Tuesday, I hope you go out there and inspired by this and go make your films and write your scripts and make it happen for you. Thank you so much for listening. You can do it. And if you're lucky enough to rise up and do well, it's your duty to send the elevator back down. Myself and Dom, or myself, we'll see you next Tuesday. Thanks, Dom.
What am I doing next Tuesday? Pretty sure I organised that one, Giles. I'll see you next Tuesday too. If I don't, there's been a terrible accident.
Dom has
Send
died.
the police to Giles.
Oh my god, it was me. Who is on next week's episode, Dom?
I think it's the After Sun episode.
Yes. It is with Charlotte Wells. I think we're putting that out next Tuesday. How exciting for you and for us.
It's going to be an entire well of knowledge for you.
Indeed it is. Until then, until that deep dive hole that we go into,
we're wishing you well.
We are wishing you well. Tom, that's a good one. We will see you next Tuesday. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.